Hello, I'm Cecilia Louie of Paper Zen. Followers of my blog know that I enjoy expressing love and thanks in the form of hearts. To celebrate this Valentine's Day, I'm putting the letters M and N in a heart and surrounding them with multi-strip scrolls. It's going on a 6x6 inch card, and I've chosen a darker red that I'm matching with the darkest strip of my multi-strip S scroll. I've cut a sheet of metallic ivory cardstock out of this wasau paper Royal Metallics, and to coincide with this metallic sheen of ivory, which I've cut an 1/8 inch smaller all around the card, I'm matching it with this crumpled glossy origami paper that I got at Daiso. So I'll be cutting my letters out of that and just kind of bringing some metallic shimmer throughout the whole card. You can download this free template and replace the letters with your own from my book, Quilling Letters. The letters here are printed at 40%, and of course you can use the baseline and the center line to help for your alignment. Just note that the center in my case was offset a little bit because the letter N is not as wide as the letter M. So you're just going to have to adjust a little bit to suit your own needs. If you only want to outline the letters at 100%, just fast forward toward the end of this video. I'll list the time in the notes below. I decided to outline my pre-cut letters in a color because I wanted the letters to stand out from the attention-grabbing multi-strip scrolls. It was really hard to film this. I would have loved to show you guys how I went about doing this, but I actually had to get my eyes really close to this, so I think I would have ended up filming the back of my head. So I'm sorry, but if you'd like to see how I go about making letters such as this, I would suggest that you view the letter J to see how to outline a letter with a background. Because these were a little bit smaller, it was harder to just show you how I went about doing it, but as I outlined this letter using traditional quilling paper, I would basically use my tweezer to mark off where this corner was and fold, use the edge of the tweezer to fold exactly where I needed it to fold. That way, because my fingers were just too big to get into all these little nooks and crannies. So it's a bit of a challenge, but I hope you guys are up for it. I really like this metallic sheen, and I think it'll pair well with the metallic sheen of this ivory paper. Multi-strip scrolls are mesmerizing, aren't they? The strips just seem to magically widen and taper as if it's just all one strip. You can slowly manipulate each strip until they have even gaps, but actually there's a quicker, easier way to do it, and that's by fanning. Let me explain what I mean by fanning. Here's a stack of Canson Mitom paper strips. They're all the same length, and I'm just going to use the table to flatten them all, line up all the edges here, and I'm going to take a pen. I'm going to mark across all those strips so we see that we're all starting off at the same spot. Now what I'm going to do is let go of my right hand and just put a bit of a curve to it. So now I'm going to cinch my fingers on my right, let go of my left, cinch with my left, let go of my right. And if you see carefully, do you see how that black mark has now spanned across and went diagonal? You can see how the strips here are all staggered now. This is what I mean by fanning. And you can do this simple method on your multi-strip scrolls. This way you don't have to slowly manipulate every strand to be the length that you need. You can just do this technique. Just practice a couple times so you can see what I mean and get your fingers used to this feeling before you attempt it here. It'll be easier on you to understand which side does it feel right to do this technique with. It's just best to play a little bit before you get really serious, you know? This way, any frustrations that you might have, you're getting frustrated on this strip and not your actual piece. So far in this series of quilling letters, I've typically shown why I enjoy using a thicker weight of paper. Let me show you some of my experiments. Let's compare the two ends of Canson Mitom. On the left, the ends are all lined up and glued, resulting in a thick end. On the right, most of the ends were torn, which gives a nice taper, but the rough ends are really noticeable. This is a multi-strip scroll using traditional quilling paper. The ends are lined up and glued, but I still didn't like the blunt ends. There's nothing wrong with doing it this way, but here's what I ended up making so that my ends taper nicely. After comparing the two test results between using Canson Miton paper and regular standard quilling paper, I really enjoyed the standard quilling paper because the taper was just so much more fine and it just gave the result that I want. Okay, so I'm going to be using traditional quilling paper and I've got my 3 strips ready here. I have a pale pink, a medium, and a dark red. This is about a length of 22 inches and I've folded it in half. I've folded the medium pink in half, and with the dark red I've just cut that in half. So I'm just going to open up the pale pink and just dab a little bit of glue in that corner. I'm going to insert the medium pink into the middle of it. Just make sure you press all the way till you reach that edge. And then, of course, we're just going to do the same with the dark red. And that's how I get that little easy taper. And as usual, I'm just using the flat of my fingers to align all these edges just to make sure I'm going to get a flat, even surface. So now that your multi-scrolls are joined at one end, let's go ahead and soften the strip. I'm going to use the handle of my tool, not the needle itself, because this circumference is too tight. I want large, soft curves right now. So you can use the template of the heart here to guide yourself, but really this is actually just more of a loose template. It's not really meant for you to follow exactly to a T unless you really want to, but for me, I actually like to break out of, such a gridded tight pattern. I like how it's dynamic that way, and it's, I don't know, I guess a little less predictable. So as usual, whenever I'm softening something and I'm gripping right here, this part here is straight. So don't forget to also soften this other side as well, so that you treat it kind of similarly, right? So as I'm guiding myself, I'm putting it back down on my template just to see what does it look like. Kind of looks like bike streamers. And you can see how it's taking shape, and as I can see, I want some more curve in here, so I just keep picking it up, keep softening it. The more you soften, the more those curves will take shape. Then as it comes around here, it's going to then start doing the S part of it and go the opposite way. So I'm going to pick it up around here and flip it around and soften the other way now. And that's generally the shape that we want. So now that we have generally kind of formed the pulp the way we want, I'm going to pick it up, and from the end where it's glued, I'm going to grip that tightly, and with my opposite hand, I'm going to bring this strip downward. And you can see here, I don't have any curve or the fanning yet. This is just happening because of the way the fibers are curved, but technically speaking, I'm still gripping here at all the same length. So what I want to do right now is give this part, some depth by the fanning method. So you've been practicing your fanning technique, and we're going to grip with our left, turn it downward, and give it that curve. Grip with your right, let go of your left, bend it the other way, grip with your left, let go, grip with your right, let go of the left, and as you get used to this, you'll go faster and faster. But as you go, you can see now how those multiple coils are taking shape. Now, I'm not letting go with my right hand yet until this is the type of, fanning that I like, is this kind of depth, the width of my multiple strip scroll. Is that the kind that I'm looking for? This is something that you would decide for yourself. So I think I want just a few more, so let's go a little bit more. Maybe more like that. Okay, so this is the one that I've ended up with. So now we still have to do the other end of it. So let me show you how I did that. And each one's going to be a little bit different, Don't worry that it's not exactly the same. No one's going to come along with a ruler and measure you. But right now I'm just kind of eyeballing, is this where I want it to be? And generally yes. So what I'm going to do now is, just as you saw with my other experiments with the mi-temps, I am going to actually stagger the tear of my strips here. And actually, I tore that last pale pink one a bit too short. What I really intended was more of that. So now what I'm going to do is glue all these ends together. And you want to work fast because, as you can see, my strips don't align yet, so I want to give myself time to align them. And you can see here, I'm still gripping all the strips. I don't want to lose all that work that I did with the fanning. But I really need to work fast because you want these strips to align before the glue sets here. Then at the end, we're just going to glue that tail end closed. And that's how we get that same seamless end on this side. So now that the two ends are glued, you can come back and reshape as you need. Because sometimes when you've manhandled the strips, they kind of lose some of that curve that you put in. It's kind of like working with hair, especially with Asian hair like mine. It tends to be quite straight, and all the work I put into giving it some curls, once it rains, it's all gone. You gotta keep working at it. So but this is all I do. This is all the magic. You just keep playing and playing and playing until you see what you like. And you just, keep massaging these curls back into your quilling strips or your hair, whichever. So you can see I need to open up my heart a little bit more. There. That's more of what I'm going for. So I've already got my two strips ready to go, and what I plan on doing is having one of them come in a little bit more, sort of an asymmetric look, that kind of thing. To make it easy to line up the letters on my card, I'm going to take my template and just trim it horizontally. I'm going to keep the bottom part of each of the letters and the bottom part of the plus sign on this bottom half, because that's going to guide me in where I place those letters. So after I've cut that in half, I'm going to take away the top part. I've put some removable tape on either side of this template, and then I'm going to go to a sunny window and put this card up against it and match up these corners to these corners. Okay, I'm going to do that and come right back. Okay, now that my template is adhered to my card, it's time to glue these letters down. So I'm pretty sure you know what's going to happen. I basically just use that to line up the letters. Pretty easy, huh? And when I apply my glue, I'm going to make sure that I don't go all the way down to the bottom, so that I don't want to glue the template to my letter too, right? After you've let your letters dry for a bit, now you know you can remove your template and know that your letters are straight. Now you can truly get a sense of the scrolls and how they look against the letters. Adjust these scrolls however you need, and once you've decided, apply your bead of glue, smear it flat like all my other previous videos, but in this case I would do it over a larger expanse of area so that you're not having to dip so many times. So I don't generally like to waste glue, but in this case I go for ease and make sure that I have an easier time transferring my scrolls to my card, because this is such a precious card, come on, right? And you don't want to mess it up with the gluing. So just adjust these scrolls however you wish for your card, smear a larger patch of glue and dip your scrolls maybe once, move it over twice, and then get ready to set it down. So when you are ready with your card, basically decide on how you want it to look, remove this one, and if you need to, put some post-it notes here to guide yourself back so that if you forget, like, was it here, how did I go? Give yourself visual cues so that it's not so hard when you've already got glued edges and it's already stressful enough. Where do I put it again? You know, give yourself as many hints as you need to remember exactly how you wanted it to go down. So for this project, you'll be able to download not only the heart on the card with the 2 letters, you'll also be able to download the plus sign with the measurements, and just to match the rest of the book. And if you want to use the letters at actual size, this is matching the actual size with the rest of the letters in my book. So if you don't have to use it at 40%, it was a little tough to deal with, so you can do regular outlining if you prefer and just print it out at 100%. Whenever I tackle a project, I kind of study it and give myself time to imagine how am I going to tackle the hardest parts of it. So because these are just 2 letters and the plus sign is in the middle, sometimes it's actually easier to work on the middle and work outward, because then this way you're not if you had started with the M first and you're working on the plus sign, then you're kind of crowding yourself on that area. But if you work on the plus sign first, then you work outward, well, you still have crowding here, but a little less so than from this side. Sometimes what I do actually is do a test piece. So in other words, I would practice on another sheet first and experience, where am I getting the worst blocks or the most challenges, and try to go about it another way. So anyway, if we were to work on the plus sign, you can actually get to all the sides all around it. There isn't really one area that is harder than another. It's pretty much even, right? So after getting your plus sign worked around, you can turn it all around because nothing is in the way. Then I would say the letter M is a lot harder than the letter N, only because there's so many more dips and valleys in here. But both are essentially similar to the letter K. So I would suggest that you look back on some of my videos on the letter K and watch how I would tackle that there. So let's take a look at the letter M specifically. I would actually turn it upside down if you could, and put a plastic card, just like I did with the letter K, here to help you basically align these 2 edges first. So that way, if they're, you don't have any off shift of alignment. Then I would tackle this part here. This is probably the hardest part. After that part is set, then generally speaking, you know, whether it's this side or this side, you can secure whichever one you want, but let whichever one of these corners dictate where you put your plastic card here, so that you can secure these two horizontal lines next. Then from there, tackle this part and then the remaining edge. For the letter N, it really is similar to the letter K, and you would just do the similar thing with the piece of plastic, align your two edges, then the inner part, decide whether you want to go down this route or this route, then again the plastic card and the horizontal pieces, the remaining inner shape, and whichever side is remaining. If you enjoyed this video, I hope you'll give it 2 thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe so you'll be notified of new videos. I love reading your responses because I never thought so many would enjoy hearing my inside thoughts. So thank you. Your comments are keeping me going.